What's up everyone and welcome back to the World History channel. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button today. Let's get started. In order to become China's only female emperor, she killed everyone, including her own daughter. During the Tang Dynasty, Wu Zetian, China's only female emperor, rose to prominence and power, establishing a legacy that would endure for thousands of years. One of history's most successful and controversial rulers, Wu Zetian married two emperors, birthed a couple more, and got rid of anyone that stood in her way. With Wu Zetian, the line between fact and fiction is hazy, but the stories about her life and rule are very interesting to read. Wu Zetian was the preferred concubine of Emperor Taizong. Wu Zetian, also known as Wu Zhao and Wu Ho, was 14 years old when he became a junior concubine of Emperor Taizong in 636 or 638 CE. She was raised by a wealthy father who encouraged her to read, write, and develop her mind in ways that were typically reserved for men. She began her employment at Taizong's palace by working in the laundry. One day she dared to speak to the emperor as he passed her, and the two began to have regular conversations. Her intelligence impressed the emperor, who appointed her as his secretary. She was able to keep up with politics, social developments, and state affairs thanks to this, which kept her close to the emperor. She not only won Taizong's favor, but she also caught the attention of his son, Prince Li Ji. Since she was still obligated to his father and he was married, their affair was risky. She was supposed to become a nun after Taizong's death, but she ended up being his son's concubine. As was customary after Emperor Taizong's death in 649 CE, all of his concubines had their heads shaved and were sent to a convent so that they would never have another lover. Wu was brought back to the palace by Prince Li Ji, now Emperor Gaozong Cao Tsung, Taizong's son, who was in love with Wu. Wu was one of the many women Gaozong had, along with his other concubines and Lady Wang, his wife. Gaozong's other wives and concubines detested Wu. Empress Wang, or Lady Wang, the emperor's wife, did not have any children with her husband. Wu Zetian gave birth to two sons in 653 and 653 to his top concubine, Xiao Shufei, who was known as the pure concubine. Since he had already selected a successor, none of this really mattered from the perspective of who would succeed Gaozong, but it did create a lot of tension among the women, due in large part to the fact that Lu Shi was the uncle of Gaozong's wife. He decided that Li Zhong, the son of his chancellor Lu Shi, would rule in his place. The focus on Wu was what really bothered Lady Wang and Xiao. Because she was educated and different from the other women, she was immediately viewed as a threat. In order to marry Gaozong, she may have blamed Gaozong's wife for her daughter's death. Wu gave birth to a daughter in 654, but she passed away within a week. Wu said that Lady Wang, who was the last person to hold the baby, had choked or smothered the child. She killed the baby herself, according to some later writers, because she was aware that Lady Wang did not like her and wanted to set Lady Wang up for the crime. Wu also said Lady Wang was a witch and she had no defense. Wu suggested that the pure concubine might have been involved as well, suggesting that she might be trying to get rid of all of her rivals. Lady Wang was sentenced to a remote part of the palace after being found guilty of the murder. The pure concubine later joined her. Gaozong married Wu after getting divorced from Lady Wang. She ordered the men that opposed her to be executed. Wu was empress in 655, with her female rivals out of the picture. Advisors who had worked under Taizong opposed her and refused to accept her position with Gaozong. They were concerned due to Wu's growing influence over Gaozong. The advisors argued that Wu did not come from a prominent family, that she had been Taizong's concubine, and that her marriage to Gaozong was incestuous. Wu set out to expel or execute these men in order to get rid of them. Wu possessed even more power after Gaozong suffered a crippling stroke in 660. She effectively ruled China for the next 23 years after taking control of government, court, and state affairs. She slaughtered the women she claimed killed her daughter. Wu gave the order to kill Lady Wang and the pure concubine once she became empress. Before being thrown into a wine barrel to drown, it is said that she ordered that their hands and feet be severed. One source claims that she observed and said, "Now these two witches can get drunk to their bones." Wu took out her sons one at a time until she became emperor. While Wu's father was still alive, 2 of his sons passed away. One crown prince is said to have been poisoned for challenging his mother, and another is said to have been exiled and forced to kill himself. Li Hong, Wu's son, succeeded his father as emperor in 683. He adopted the royal moniker Zhongzong, but he and Lady Wei pushed their own agendas too far. Wu realized that they were delegating too much power to themselves, especially since Lady Wei had her father appointed as the chief minister of her husband. Wu expelled them both after accusing them of treason. According to other accounts, she poisoned her son to kill him. While under house arrest, her youngest son, who went by the royal name Ruizong, ruled, with his mother making all of the decisions. In 690, she forced him to abdicate. She made her claim to be emperor at this point. For the next 15 years she was in charge. She had a team of spies and secret police at her disposal. Wu's network of spies and secret police was one of the methods she used to successfully eliminate her rivals and enemies. Wu paid people to come to court and report what they knew using informants to obtain information from all over China. She discovered plots against her before they became actual threats, rewarded officials who shared information, and gathered dirt on government officials she wanted to get rid of. At the end of her reign, Wu Zetian spent more time with her lovers than she did ruling China. Wu's excess led to her becoming corrupted late in her reign. She neglected her responsibilities and took on male concubines, giving the Zhang brothers a lot of favor. A single historian claims, in her 70s, Wu lavished special favor on the Zhang brothers, 2 smooth-cheeked former boy singers whose private relationship with their imperial mistress has never been precisely established. She claimed that one of the brothers had a face as beautiful as a lotus flower, and that she valued the other brother for his abilities in the bedroom. The Empress, greatly weakened by infirmity and old age, would allow no one but the Zhang brothers to be by her side, according to legend. She developed paranoia, became dependent on drugs, and expelled or killed anyone she believed to be against her. Government officials and others in the courtroom resented the Zhang brothers, who were 20 years old, flamboyant, and party animals. The Empress ignored this and grew older, more and more dependent on her 2 lovers. According to one account, the nobles reached a point where they were so enraged that they stormed the palace, severed the brothers' heads, and took control of the government. Wu began to believe that everyone was conspiring against her, not only because she had concubines, but also because of it. She continued to exile, imprison, or murder her rivals. She began to lose touch with reality and developed an addiction to aphrodisiacs. She was forced to abdicate in 704/5, and her son Zhongzong returned from exile to rule. Numerous of Wu's accomplishments are credited to her husband. China expanded its military control of the region during the Tang Dynasty, largely under Wu's direction. She established the civil service examination system in Chinese society and ruled in peace. Military expenses were reduced, taxes were cut, salaries of deserving officials were raised, retirees were given a viable pension, and vast royal lands near the capital turned over to husbandry. Even her most ardent critics must acknowledge, Wu's level of good or bad will never be known. No one will ever know whether the story that Lady Wang killed Wu's daughter is true or whether Wu himself killed the child. It's hard to tell what is true and what has been made up over time because so much of Wu's information comes from later sources. Wu Zetian took a position of power despite defying traditional Confucian leadership concepts, to the dismay of her time. Chinese historians have attributed Wu's actions to hedonism, infanticide, earthquakes, and everything in between. China experienced an earthquake shortly after she assumed power, which was regarded as a negative sign. The stories that have been told over time may have been influenced by the Empress herself, as well as the families of her enemies and victims. The sources have been against her from the start. Wu Zetian's rise to power during the Tang Dynasty as China's only female emperor was nothing short of extraordinary. She was marked by intelligence, ambition, and an unwavering determination to overcome societal norms and political obstacles in an imperial court dominated by men. Wu was born in 624 CE into a wealthy family. Her progressive father encouraged her to study literature, politics, and history, investing in her future as one of China's most formidable rulers. Wu received a rare education for a girl at the time. She joined Emperor Taizong's palace as a junior concubine when she was just 14 years old, a position with little power or status. Wu's destiny changed the moment she boldly spoke to the emperor, despite being initially assigned to work in the laundry. Taizong promoted her to a secretarial position because he was impressed by her intelligence and self-assurance. This gave her access to information that few women or even men had and brought her closer to the inner workings of the government. Wu also attracted the attention of Prince Li Ji, Taizong's son, while she was at court. The foundation for her eventual rise to Empress would be their secret affair. In order to maintain Emperor Taizong's exclusivity, Wu and the other concubines were expected to continue their lives as Buddhist nuns after his death in 649 CE. However, Emperor Gaozong Li Ji, who was still deeply in love with Wu, defied convention and brought her back to court as his own concubine. Wu's ambitions went far beyond courtship romance, and this act alone would have caused enough controversy. She won Gaozong's favor quickly thanks to her intelligence and poise, which caused the other women, most notably Empress Wang and the pure concubine Xiao Shufei, to feel jealousy and fear. Wu possessed a more potent weapon, cunning, whereas both women had political alliances and noble lineage to support their positions. Wu outmaneuvered the Empress and Xiao, using her position and influence over the emperor to gradually dismantle their support. Even though the Empress and Xiao had children, Wu also had 2 sons in 652 and 653. When Wu's newborn daughter passed away in suspicious circumstances in 654, tragedy, or perhaps treachery, hit.